President Buhari makes case for the ECOWAS region in Beijing as Chinese government pledges a $60 billion package for Africa.
Trader Money Initiative launched in Osun State.
Federal government inaugurates anti-corruption monitoring committee.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on women and the 2019 general elections.
Women currently make up about 50% of Nigeria's population. Despite this figure, records from international organizations such as the United Nations indicate that they are not actively participating in politics.
And some analysts have attributed this situation to cultural stereotypes, traditional practices, as well as patriarchal societal structures.
Other issues such as marginalization in all its forms, family responsibilities, and lack of adequate finance have all contributed to the low participation of women in Nigerian politics.
And from a historical perspective, at independence in 1960, right through the Second Republic, very few women won elective positions in Nigeria, although the situation gradually improved later at the beginning of the current Fourth Republic. However, this comes into sharp contrast with the situation of women in some African countries, such as Rwanda, which appear to be doing well. In that country, women have won well over 60% of the seats in parliament, and that took place in 2013.
That's right, Kingsley, and that's why women groups in Nigeria have described the scenario in the country and the non-passage of the 35% affirmative action bill as worrisome. Nigeria's First Lady Aisha Buhari recently appealed to political parties to create more opportunities for women by ensuring effective gender mainstreaming in their parties.
And as part of walking her talk, the wife of the president has also declared her support for women who are vying for political offices irrespective of their political parties.
With just a few months to Nigeria's 2019 elections, very few political parties have fielded female candidates, with none presenting a female presidential candidate yet. We're hoping to see more of that very soon.
All right, absolutely, because the parties are yet to be through with their primaries, and so you still have a range of aspirants with posters all over the place, and in some cases rather prohibitive expression of interest nomination forms in terms of the cost of picking up those forms. Now, but the question to ask is whether there is any hope that the narratives that we have always seen with regard to the participation of women in competitive politics will change ahead of the elections in 2019. And what strategies are available, as it were, to get more women into the political space, that's to say, the competitive arena of politics?
Now, more questions. How ready are political parties to implement the 35% affirmative action? That will be our focus on Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Joy Usiagwa, and it's always good to have you join us on the program, broadcast live on Africa's largest television network, the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. We are in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague and also welcome you to the program. Of course, as always, in the course of the program, we'll have our regular complimentary segments. These will include newspaper review, business, foreign, entertainment, and, of course, sports. But in our sports package, we might be unable to give you the latest calls coming out of New York. The U.S. Open just a little over an hour ago. There was a big news that happened with the fall of 20-time Grand Slam winner Roger Federer. Number 2 seed, was knocked out by an Australian, John Millman, in 4 sets, 3-6, 7-6, 7-6, and 7-6. So farewell to Roger Federer from the US Open. Before then, Maria Sharapova also suffered a loss at the 4th round. Well, let's join our colleague now, Bintu Sumono, for the highlights of the morning news. Hi, Bintu. Did you watch the US Open?
That's for the sports enthusiasts. Hello, Joy and Kingsley. Good morning, and here's the morning news. The People's Republic of China has pledged a $60 billion package of aid, investment, and credit facility to Africa. President Xi Jinping, who announced this at the opening of the Forum on China and Africa Cooperation, also outlined 8 major initiatives for enhanced socio-economic development across the continent.
Achieving general food security by 2030. We will support Chinese companies in Africa to forge alliance of corporate social responsibilities. We will continue to strengthen cooperation with African countries in local currency settlement and make good use of the China-Africa Development Fund, the China-Africa Fund for Industrial Cooperation, and the special loan for the development of African SMEs.
Member states of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, have resolved to take far-reaching measures towards creating the right conditions for sustainable economic growth and development in the sub-region. These are in the areas of good governance, fight against corruption, combating terrorism, as well as organized crime by deepening and strengthening relevant institutions. Chairman of the Commission, President Muhammadu Buhari, stated this at a high-level dialogue between Chinese and African leaders, as well as business representatives in Beijing.
Continue to pay emphasis on encouraging more foreign direct investment in the sub-region. To this end, member states are looking at the opportunities that the China International Import-Export Initiative will offer our exporters to gain market access for their goods and services in China. Such an opportunity will help to diversify the economy of our sub-region from over-reliance on primary agricultural and mineral products, and subsequently correct the huge trade imbalance between China and the ECOWAS sub-region on a win-win basis for both parties. We would also request visa facilitation for our businessmen and women and students who seek to visit China.
While Africa and Chinese leaders were busy at the opening of the 2018 summit of the Forum on Africa-China Cooperation, some Nigerian and Chinese businessmen were taking advantage of the event to sign some memorandum of understanding and agreements on some projects to be implemented in Nigeria.
Port is going to be a sister port to the Lekki-Dipsy port, and we expect that up to 30% of the cargo going to the Lekki-Dipsy port will be meant for the Benin River port.
The wife of the President, Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has called on Nigerians based in the People's Republic of China to key into the program of the Future Assured in order to improve the living standards of women and children. This was at a reception organized in her honor by the spouse of the Nigerian ambassador to the People's Republic of China, Yechilla Babajida, at the side event of the 2018 summit of the Forum of China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, currently taking place in Beijing.
On behalf of Our Excellency for you having time to come and grace this occasion and to be with us.
What China has done to Africa in these few years of friendship has not been extended to Africa by our colonizers.
And back here in Nigeria, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government is delighted that the social investment programs are already having positive impact on the lives of ordinary Nigerians. Professor Osinbajo said this while inaugurating the government enterprise and empowerment program for 30,000 petty traders in Iwo, Osun State. Moving on now, as a further step towards ensuring the success of the National Anti-Corruption Strategic Action Plan, the federal government has inaugurated a committee that will monitor and evaluate the plan. Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami performed the ceremony in Abuja.
The monitoring of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy implementation is to be achieved through 3 different levels. 1, the monthly reporting and quarterly self-assessment within the anti-corruption, law enforcement and regulatory agencies. 2, annual review of the progress of the implementation. 3, annual review and reporting of the National Anti-Corruption Strategy Monitoring and Evaluation Committee.
And a little bit of politics now. One of the resolutions at the 6th National Executive Committee NEC meeting of the governing All Progressives Congress is the adoption of direct primary for the selection of its presidential candidate. NEC, however, made it optional for states to adopt either direct or indirect primary for other elections. This decision has since generated mixed reactions from party members.
Adopt a direct primaries for the presidential election, but also a resolution recommendation was made by the National Working Committee, which was accepted, that all other states should adopt the indirect mode of election.
The members of the party be the people that will determine who flies their flag.
Politics is a vehicle of development and empowerment. Yes. And people are the object and subject of that development. Yes. So whatever we do here must be people-centered.
But if they insist on indirect primary, definitely the party is going to have a lot of challenges. Because most of the people aspiring the position, they believe in their governors, not in the masses.
And the People's Democratic Party has inaugurated its Osun State National Campaign Committee ahead of the September 22nd governorship poll. Timothy Yusuf reports that the committee is chaired by the Senate President Bukola Saraki.
Everything necessary within the law and under the law for us to win Osun State.
We shall do our very best and leave no stone unturned to working to ensure that Osun gubernatorial election will result in victory for our party.
And that's the morning news. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll be back shortly after the messages with Joy and Kinsley.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive, Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem. You are welcome, sir.
As usual, yeah?
Welcome.
You take that one.
Yeah, take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Thanks for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Now, Nigeria opens September savings bond bid as oil prices rose Monday, backed by U.S. sanctions to limit Iran exports. Joy Uzo has details on Business News.
Welcome. We'll start with the Debt Management Office, who on behalf of the federal government has offered for subscription 2- and 3-year tenured savings bond. The 2-year federal government savings bond due September 12, 2020 is put at an interest rate of 11.364% per annum, while the 3-year FGN savings bond is due September 12, 2021 and comes with an interest rate of 12.364% per annum. All openings are closing at the end of this week. Into other areas, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority NCAA says it collected over $16.98 million and 9.16 billion naira from international and local airlines between January and August this year as ticket sales charge, TSC, through its automation system. This was disclosed by the Director General NCAA, Captain Mukhtar Usman, in a chat with newsmen in Lagos. It disclosed there has always been that projection that aviation in Africa is growing and the rate of growth is one of the highest in the world. However, the NCAA boss decried the lack of internal connectivity within the African region, noting that once those sectors are developed, there would be much more increase in the movements. And on crude, oil prices rose on Monday, supported by concerns that falling Iranian output would tighten markets once U.S. sanctions bite from November. But gains were limited by higher supply from OPEC and the United States. Brent crude oil was up 45 cents at $78.09 per barrel, while U.S. crude was 10 cents higher at $69.90 per barrel. The two benchmarks have risen strongly over the last 2 weeks, with Brent gaining more than 10% on expectations that global supply would tighten later this year. U.S. sanctions are already curbing exports from Iran. Finally, the Nigerian Stock Exchange All-Share Index records 0.03% marginal loss to open the week negative. Market extends losing streak to close at 34,837.50 basis points. Next is a graphic representation of the closing figures. That does it on Business News. Many thanks for watching. I am Joy Uzo.
Thank you very much, Joy Uzo, for the business package. Next for us now, we'll take a look at the front pages of some of today's newspapers.
All right, let's start by taking a look at the front page of the Punch newspaper. Above the nameplate, Buhari is healthier than 80% of Nigerians. Now, that comment is attributed to Ngige, and you can get details on page 40. Below that, FG extends Lagos-Ibadan Expressway project completion date to December 2019. And 14 die as suspected herdsmen attack Plateau again. Now, let's go to the lead story there. The lead story says, again, Buhari refuses to sign electoral bill, cites contradictions, errors by NAS as reasons. Details on page 9. Let's go quickly to The Guardian for the lead story. To The Guardian. Buhari again declines assent to electoral bill. It comes with 4 riders, says bill full of errors, 6 quick legislative revision. PDP kicks, urges National Assembly to override decision. Party rules out automatic tickets amid protest. INEC raises the alarm over 10 million uncollected PVCs. Kingsley.
All right, let's take a look at Daily Independent, Daily Sun, and the New Telegraph. And all their lead stories are on matters related to elections 2019. Daily Independent comes with a double-decker headline, Why Buhari Declined Assent to Electoral Bill, and that's according to the presidency. With a rider, PDP urges National Assembly to, as the paper puts it, overrule president. That should be override the president. Details of that story can be found on page 4. And for the Daily Sun, it comes like this. Buhari rejects electronic results transmission and others. Again, vetoes electoral amendment bill. That's on page 6. And for the New Telegraph, it says with a kicker, 2019, crisis looms over electoral law and poll funding. With 2 riders, again, Buhari vetoes electoral act, that's electoral bill, and cites drafting errors. Override president, PDP tells National Assembly. There are, of course, other headlines. And then, Joy, well, let's just take this story very quickly. The senior special assistant to the President of National Assembly Matters, with particular focus on the Senate, Senator Itayanan, explained in a statement yesterday, being Monday, why the President had withheld his assent to the Electoral Amendment Bill 2018. He cited drafting errors and he detailed the conflicting sections or the errors in the bill as forwarded to the President. And according to practice, the President doesn't have the powers to alter the provisions as passed by the National Assembly. He can only draw the attention of the lawmakers to those errors. So there's no conflict, as it were, unless, of course, the lawmakers, that's to say the National Assembly, now find cause to argue, for instance, or believe that the President's objection or the President's notification of the errors would not stand or should not stand, in which case they may, if that is what they want to do, proceed to override the President's veto. But if these are drafting errors that have been identified, it's best to reason that the National Assembly will do the needful.
Yes, let's hope they'll just take a look at it and then we'll hear what they have to say at the end of the day about it.
So there's no conflict whatsoever yet. It's just that the President has always noticed the following in the bill as passed to be. Because if the President assents to it, then that is the law. And then when you now have those conflicting provisions or some of it clerical in the act, then it becomes a problem again for you to say you want to go and pass another amendment bill. So why not deal with it?
And I guess the National Assembly should expect that anyway, coming from the president, because you need to take a look at what you have before you make a final recommendation or accent to it.
That's correct. That's correct, Joy. But as I said, if the substantive issues with regard to the provisions are one that they disagree with the executive branch on, and they feel that they do not want to go by the observations of the executive branch, they can now, on their own, proceed to override the president's veto. But that situation hasn't arisen. That's right. Okay, so let's take a look at other headlines above the nameplate of the New Telegraph. This is news coming out of China. Federal government secures China's funding pledge. This is New Telegraph now, above the nameplate. Federal government secures China funding pledge for $2.8 billion pipeline project. With two riders, Beijing announces fresh $60 billion financing for Africa, and Buhari seeks more Chinese investment in Nigeria.
All right, let's go quickly to the Punch newspaper again. Below the picture story there, Osun takes over Benue PDP leadership, and that story is on page 40. Below it, primaries, APC National Working Committee meets over timetable, cost of forms. We've recruited 70 lawyers, 40 magistrates, it says El Rufai. Why? Check page 22 for details. Acting DSS boss bows to presidency, recalls redeployed officers. And below that, at the foot of the front page, Ajaokuta Kano Pipeline Project, Chinese firm to secure $2.38 billion loan.
All right, well, let's come to the Daily Independent one more time. Daily Independent, above the nameplate again on politics of Daily Independent. Protesters storm APC secretariat, insist on direct primaries, and angry with governors for pushing indirect primaries, and Party National Working Committee may consider review of nomination fees. And then below the photograph there, on the front, beside the photograph on the front page, you have Lagos PDP and NWC, that stands for the National Working Committee of the PDP, at loggerheads over appointment of state chair. National Scribe denies signing appointment letter. Benue PDP reshuffles executive committee to accommodate Otom, and Atiku begs for forgiveness over involvement in Buhari's election. That's on page 4. Of course, it's political season, and so you have all kinds of apologies here and there. And then above the photograph, that's a headline there. It says, gunmen kidnap Catholic priest in Delta, demand 15 million naira ransom. That's on page 41. And bad news still out of Plateau, unfortunately. The bloodletting is on season. Tension in Jos as gunmen kill 11, injure 12 in fresh attacks. This happened in Jos South local government area.
Okay. Let's go to the Guardian newspaper now. Beside the picture story there on the left, crude oil sells at $78.2 as output peaks. And below that, police confirm killing of 11 in Jos by gunmen, as you heard from Kingsley in the other paper. And Secondus alleges corrupt people plotting to reinstall Buhari APC in 2019. And at the foot of the paper, mobile operators defy government, deepen insecurity, and it comes with two riders. Flaunt order on sale of pre-registered SIM cards. NCC flares action. MTN 9 Mobile explain positions.
Okay, the New Telegraph, again, just below the nameplate of the New Telegraph, we just took one or two headlines there. It says, Customs impounds 1.5 billion naira fuel at Ogun Creek. That's on page 36. And the story of the government killing some persons in Plateau is also there on the front page. And of course, right at the foot of the front page, says, scientists develop new wound healing and dressing material. That's on page 7. And the details of that story can be found there. Now, let's take a look at the Daily Sun as well. Daily Sun has an earpiece. The Daily Sun has a story of the fresh outbreak of attacks in Plateau, as well as the fatalities arising therefrom. 11 killed, 12 injured in fresh Plateau attack. CAN, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria, Lalong, and others demand arrest of perpetrators. Now, you see the photograph of the president, Muhammadu Buhari, and his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, during the opening ceremony of the Beijing summit of the Forum on Africa-China Cooperation in Beijing. Federal government inaugurates anti-graft panel, sets up peace commission, and justifies detention of journalists for 2 years. And by the way, that justification, of course, is coming in the course of a trial of a journalist. So it's, of course, there's a statement that was made in court. Abductors of Delta Catholic priest demand 15 million naira ransom. Those are the details that you have on page 5 of the Daily Sun newspaper.
So let's go to our editorial for today. And our editorial is taken from the Guardian newspaper. The title is, Let Only the Law Rule. President Muhammadu Buhari raised the bar of debate on the nexus between the rule of law and national interest in the context of national security the other day at the annual Nigerian Bar Association in Abuja. Now, the heated debate arising from this has been illuminating to the extent that Nigeria's leader, a retired general, may have been persuaded, after all, that national interest and national security, too, are a creation of the law, which is therefore supreme. At the opening of the 2018 Annual General Conference of the NBA, Buhari was reported as stating that the rule of law must be subject to the supremacy of the nation's security and national interest. Now, Nigerians have responded robustly, and contextual condemnation has been swift and broad. We recognize the danger signals and urge all Nigerians to reject this pre-trial balloon. The Buhari administration must rethink this premise, as it is in no one's interest, which is the definition of national interest. Therefore, it should not be unambiguous that whenever the law does not rule, it is the rule of man. Yes, man who can redefine personal interest, reconstruct and sell it to the gullible as national interest. And so only the law can rule that same man to order. That is why there should be no controversy over the supremacy of the law over any other interest in society. And so that is why the legal opinion of the iconic Lord Justice Alfred Thompson Denning on the point at issue, rule of law, is quite significant in this regard. The jurist of significance has counseled those who are confused about the supremacy of the rule of law. Be ye ever so high, the law is above you.
All right, so, well, that's a detailed excerpt, of course, from the editorial by The Guardian, that the president provoked a jurisprudential debate at the opening of the NBA conference in Abuja with regard to the nexus between national security and the rule of law. Of course, the debate continues to rage. There are jurists who believe that the rule of law is the ultimate definition of democracy, and that national security is indeed an integral part of the rule of law, and that national security cannot trump the rule of law. At all times, of course, obedience to the law is significant for any orderly and well-governed society. Otherwise, it will be the rule of man. But the president has, of course, always indicated that the government, is governed by law, and that the government will obey the law. So, which is quite, if you like, a re-emphasis of his adherence to the rule of law. It depends on how it plays out. And the Constitution has not been, the constitutional provisions have not been abridged, nor have they been amended. And persons whose rights are infringed upon still have access to seek redress. All right, so that does it for our newspaper review segment. We would like to thank you for tuning in. And, of course, the program continues with our discussion on women and the 2019 general elections just around the corner.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Madam. Brought us as usual.
As usual. You have no problem.
For the three
You are welcome, sir.
as usual, yeah?
Welcome.
You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Mobu to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It will boost our economy and will give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
For years, the NTA has been promoting science, technology, arts and crafts under the tagged name National Children's Expo. We are set with another edition as we gather children around Nigeria. Junior category ages 6 to 12 and senior category ages 13 to 18. The theme for Expo 2018, achieving self-sufficiency in agriculture, meeting the challenges of security and exposition of alternative energy as pathways to national development. Date, October 21st to 25th, 2018. Venue, NTA Headquarters Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. We are set to celebrate the best of innovation across the country. For more information, please call the following numbers. NTA ETV, promoting learning.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, to set the tone for our conversation on Nigerian women and 2019 general elections, Abdul Malik Adio spoke with some Nigerians to get their views. Let's hear them.
Why women participation is less in politics is that one of the reasons is that the amount of money involved is too much that women cannot afford. But that should not be the reason for them not to participate in politics. They should start from somewhere. And then when they want to participate in politics, they should be able to there should be honesty so that people will have confidence in them. What we've done is that let them reduce spending in politics. They should talk of integrity, honesty, and someone that will be able to serve the people. That's politics. Politics is supposed to be about service to the people and not about money.
For women to get involved in the politics, first of all, there should be voter education from the INEC, and political parties too have to play their own part by either giving them free tickets Because women, it's very difficult where you can see women raise 20 million, 30 million to pay for presidential ticket. And their husband also as well should allow their wives to play a role in politics.
No, I'm not even in support of women participating in politics. One, the level of education in Nigeria is still low. Our women are still, the level of education of most of our women is still very low. So the first thing we should do is to educate our women first.
Formally, as women, we believe that our own office ends in kitchen, even no matter how educated you are. But now that the women have started gradually coming out for politics, so we believe that by the next term, the women will increase in politics.
All right, now you just heard the views of a cross-section of Nigerians who were interviewed by our correspondent with regard to the participation of women in competitive politics. We have guests with us here in the studios to discuss this issue in further detail. So at this time, we'd like to welcome Hajia Ireti Kingibe, who is a leader of the APC in the Federal Capital Territory. Hajia Ireti, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning.
Also here with us in the studios is the chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, that's IPAC, Honorable Mohammed Nalado. Honorable Nalado, pleasure to have you on the program. Good morning.
Good morning. Also in the studio with us this morning is the President, National Council for Women Societies, NCWS, Dr. Gloria Shoda. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. We also have Dr. Roslyn Ada Chenge. She's a former MD, that's Managing Director, Lower Benue River Basin Development Authority. Thank you for joining us this morning.
All right, gentlemen and ladies, pleasure to have you again on the program. Now, shortly after the 2015 general elections and subsequent to that, the topic that we have focused on Good Morning Nigeria has been women and their participation in politics, and at some other point, women and their participation in competitive politics. We are right now on the eve of the 2019 elections. All kinds of reasons have been canvassed as to why women would appear to always constantly play at the margins. But for 2019, what are the prospects? Let's begin with Hajia Ireti Kingibe.
Well, the prospects are much better this time, it seems. More women are coming out. And though the key to women actually getting there is the parties, the political parties. A lot of them just pay lip service to affirmative action. They say, some say forms are free, some make women pay for the forms. They've increased the forms, the fees for the forms. So when a woman is running and she has to look for 4 million, 10 million, 15 million, most of the time, she doesn't have it. But if we can start from free forms, then at least whatever resources she has, she can then use them for campaigning and other things. Also, there's a cultural issue. Women have to be, the whole society has to be sensitized to the fact that women are 50% of the population. I was listening to that man saying women are not educated enough to run, which is ridiculous, because if you look at the universities and everywhere, there are just as many women as men there. So that isn't really a legitimate issue. But I think the prospects are much better this time. I see a lot more women at least attempting. After the primaries, we'll see how many women actually scale through, because that is the key. If they don't make it in the primaries, then they can't actually go to the polls.
All right, thank you very much, Hajia Ireti Kingibe. Let me go quickly to the president of the National Council for Women's Societies, Dr. Gloria Shoda. Here we are looking at 2019 general elections, and there's a lot of politicking going on. How prepared are the women? What are the prospects?
Well, this year we have seen a lot of women coming out. We've just had a political summit, and we were surprised to find that we have hundreds and hundreds of women that are ready to contest. But the problem, like my sister Eriti said, is still the same, is funding. Because after the summit, a lot of women were calling me, so now what is going to happen? Are you going to fund the elections? Are we going to get assistance from the First Lady? What is going to happen about, collecting forms? They are too expensive and all that. Meaning that women really want to take part in the 2019 general elections. But funding is a problem for them. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone is crying. And when you come to talk about funding, even the men, I saw one man saying that Nigerians should please donate money for him to pick up from. So the problem is funding. But for being ready, for women being ready for 2019, I think they are ready and willing. And I'm sure many, many of them are capable of taking part in the 2019 elections.
All right. President of National Council of Women's Societies, thank you very much. We'll come back to you. Let's bring in Dr. Rosalind Chenge. You've had the experience of being in the electoral field, trying to, aspiring at some point to be governor of Benue State. And unfortunately, you got your nose bloodied on that occasion. Namely, aspiration is one thing. The president of Women's Society says, oh, women are ready, they are willing. That's aspiration. But the battlefield, the electoral battlefield, is often very rough and tough.
Yeah.
What, again, are the prospects for 2019? Any likely sea change?
Well, I think there's a lot of hope for the women, because the last summit we had, just like the president said, for the first time, the president was there himself. And I feel that because he was there himself, he's going to consider the report, he's going to consider the participation. And so I see the First Lady of Benue, of Nigeria, doing something different. Why do I say so? The political parties, what we expect from them is that this time around, they will be able to say, 5 states, 6 states, give us, we give you the candidatureship. And then so many, like 50 or 30 number of senators, we deliberately have made provision for it, because I tell you, I'm an engineer by profession. I'm a fellow of the Society of Engineers. So there's no other engineering statute that a male engineer had achieved that I haven't. So also a lot of women who are doctors, who are lawyers, we've actually excelled in different professional fields. And I believe management is all about prudence. And from home, women have been doing it. So the political parties, I have not been able to be presented to my people, because my people are willing, religiously they're willing, culturally they're willing to produce a female governor. But then will the political parties have the willpower to say, I hereby said from APC, we are giving 5 women to go and try. I want to thank APC, because in the last 2015 election, they were the only one that gave a female a candidate in Taraba, and she didn't do very bad at all. She did quite well. And I think if the political parties make it a deliberate policy, because you can't be voted for if you are not a candidate. And so I just want the chairman of the political parties to make it up. I thank NTA, because if not for this program, we will not be able to even afford to be on air.
All right.
So,
I'm still staying with you. You know, I know that the political terrain is rough.
Yeah.
And considering what you went through in the past, beyond you now, are you looking at some other women in politics who are also burning to contribute to the political scene in Nigeria in 2019? How prepared are they? What are the challenges they're facing? And how are you helping them to overcome this so you can all work together?
Thank you very much. When I spoke now, I said about 5 or 6 governorship candidates. I said about 30 or 50 senators. So I'm already campaigning and advocating for other women. But I tell you, in 2007, when I contested with Gabriel Susman and I lost at the primary, supported him, and he became a governor, I actually went out with the wife of the governor then, and we went to the 23 local government to ask for women to come out to be chairman, and it wasn't funny. But the day of the final day of the decision making, Her Excellency had to stand her feet on the ground and she told the husband and the political party chairman, I said, I cannot campaign for 23 local government without having one. So we practically forced it down, and they said, okay, we give you one local government chairman, that is Agatu from the 23 local government. And she actually won the general election. So women are ready to win the general election. All we need is the political party making it a deliberate policy to support us. And I tell you, we're going to manage this very lean economy very well, because you can see the resources are not actually our friend this time.
The economy has moved from the lean zone into the blooming zone.
Yeah.
That's the way out of recession. Well, thanks a lot,
No, I don't talk of lean in terms of now. In 2015, 2019, it's quite wonderful. What I talk about lean is I'm talking of we're not in the oil boom section anymore. We're talking of diversification of agriculture. We're looking at different places, and that's where women comes in.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Chenge. Let's bring in now the chairman of the Interparty Advisory Council, Honorable Nalado. You've listened, of course, to the perspectives of the women. Tell us what you foresee ahead of 2019.
Thank you very much. Actually, political parties are putting so much in trying to encourage women to participate fully in the elections coming ahead. We recently reviewed our code of conduct to make sure that we create spaces for women to participate fully and actively. And the Interparty Advisory Council has made it a law signed by all the political parties in Nigeria that women should have, at least IPAC is the first to implement the affirmative action by giving 3 out of 9 ESCO members to women. So political parties are all out to support women to participate and win elections. And apart from that, I think majority of the political parties have created some incentives for women to participate by allowing them to participate, to contest elections without paying nomination fees. So we are contributing and we are making it easier for women to participate.
I'm wondering, Joy, and then, of course, to our distinguished guests, my question is going to Hajia Ereti Kingibe, and the other guests can also take up on this. I hear a lot of wishes, I hear a lot of persuasive comments. Oh, the parties should do this, the parties should do that. We are right on the eve of the elections. The parties have only a few weeks to conduct their primaries. And we have seen how decided cases, have proceeded in this country with regard to who participates in the primaries and who then qualifies to be the standard bearer, that's to say the candidate of a political party in an election. What we seem to be hearing more from the political parties will be nomination forms. That's the cost of the forms, exorbitant in some cases. Yes. We're also hearing about, the mode of the election, whether it will be direct or indirect primaries. There seems to be very little from the party apparatchiks with regard to affirmative action to say, this is what we are doing. The working committees and then the executive committees of the parties are meeting, and these issues are not there. And then once the primary season is over, you're back to square one. Is that the likely scenario?
Well, it seems to me like it is the likely scenario, because unless maybe the parties are still waiting to bring out, we've got, at least in my party, we've got the APC, we've got another maybe 3 weeks to primaries for both presidential and the National Assembly. And I really do feel that the party should give some sort of affirmative action for women. Abuja, we're going to be having our local government elections about the same time as the national elections. So we have 62 wards. And in those 62 wards, so far, only maybe about 6 women are aspiring for councillorship. And I've been going round trying to talk to the chairman of the wards before I even get to the party to say, come on, guys, out of 62, you can afford to give us these 6, meaning these 6 women should be able to go to, should be able to go to general election. And they are very strong women. They are women who can mobilize. Okay, they may not have money, but if everything was just level free, nobody's paying anything, and you say, let's go and run, they would actually win the primaries. So that being the case, they can win the elections. But for that to happen, the party needs to give them some sort of a push. I've been trying to, I know that my primaries come well before theirs, and I've been intending that as soon as I finish mine, I'm focusing on the women who are running for local government, because there's only one woman running for chairman out of the 6, and then out of the 62, and we have, this last time, we didn't have any woman out of the 62. In the past, I've sat and negotiated with the state chairman of our parties, and they have given to 3 women, 4 women, and they've won. They're usually very strong women. That's the truth. I have been running since 2003, and that's because I believe that every time I've run, I've always been next to the government candidate. So I have the grassroots, obviously, or else it will not take the whole state machinery, government money, government everything to impose a candidate on the people. And one of the things I find that with a lot of women, they run once, they almost win, then they're a bit intimidated and they leave the space. So I believe that I have run enough, that this time I've got the solid support of the people, everything, that I'm reasonably confident that I will be the next senator of the FCT, inshallah. But that's not enough. We need to have other women, and I'm going to use my grassroots, my support, my finances, every little effort that I have to make sure that those 6 women emerge.
Haji Areti, it's good that you're passionate about what you're doing and you're staying on course. And I like the fact that you're encouraging more women to join in this same process. Now, let's go quickly to Dr. Gloria Shoda. You listened to her. She talked about women willing to work with other women and get into elective positions. However, they need men to support, to push and encourage them. NCWS is like the umbrella body association for women. What are you doing to encourage these political parties to push, to support women and adhere to the affirmative action?
Well, I'm happy to hear her say that she will use all her resources, all her grassroots people to support those 6 women that want to be councillors. It's very difficult for women to support, you know, one another in politics. Usually,
why is it so?
I don't know. Why. I'm not a politician, but it's very, very difficult for men gathered together. I said men contribute money to support another man. To go ahead in politics. They sponsor another person. But it's difficult for women to come together and sponsor other women. That I'm yet to understand. I don't know why. But I'm happy to hear one woman saying that she's ready to use her resources. That's very important, you know, to support another woman. And I hope that other women also will come up like that, to support women, other women. Like, we don't have money, but we are supporting, we are doing the advocacy, we are talking. We've had a political summit in 2017. We've sent letters to the assembly on the 35% affirmative action that is still lying there. We've talked to political party chairmen, including IPAC. We have talked to them, and we hope to continue to go around political parties. APC, the chairman, has said he supports the idea. We hope to go to PDP and then reach other parties too, through IPAC, to talk to them and appeal to them. This time around, we're appealing to them because we need the men to support us, you know, to be able to get to where we're going. So that they should give us a quota. So, you know, when they give us a quota, we will be able to fill up the quota. We have women who are qualified to even become president of this country. Yes, that's the truth.
All right, thank you very much. Let's bring in again Engineer Rosalind Chenge. My question, I would like to repeat it as follows. How do we, and women in particular, on the eve of the 2019 elections, achieve a break-in, as it were, into the party hierarchy to ensure that they are sensitive to the wishes that have been expressed, and so the sentiments as to what role women should play much more effectively in competitive politics. How do you achieve that? I've heard the party chairman being mentioned. Party chairman alone doesn't control the party. You have the governors who are a power block in the political parties. You have state party chairmen, and indeed the entire machinery. How do you achieve that break-in?
Thank you very much. I just want to refer back to what happened a few days ago at the summit. I had earlier spoken about it because I know that that's only where the power to give women the opportunity lies. I spoke and I said for the first time, I had contested from 2007 to now. That's 2007, 2015, and then 2019. For the first time, we had a summit that the president, commander-in-chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, attended himself and saw the women and felt our pain. And we were able to speak to him one-on-one. And then the national chairman of APC, Her Excellency Aisha Buhari, gave us that opportunity to meet with her husband. And she invited all the party chairmen. I was surprised PDP chairman was not there. I don't know why. But APC national chairman was there himself. And he saw that the president was there. So I feel that the president has the willpower and he has also the power to do it. And the national chairman of our own party, APC, judging from what Her Excellency said that day and what the president of NCWS said, I just have this strong feeling that since the president, the sitting government is talking of integrity and prudence, that there's going to be some sort of a kind of force that will come from the president and the national chairman to say, in so states, this woman is qualified. I have seen her record, I have seen her performance, and I think she can be this and she can be that. And so we are moving to that stage.
How do you, in that circumstance, address the perennial problem of candidate imposition and therefore the subversion of internal party democracy? If the president and the chairman will say, this woman is the person that must have this.
No, it's not that this woman is the person that must have this. If whatever is good, they say what is good for A should be good for B. So if over the years we've had, after mass mobilization, what we're talking about is that the people, just like Senator has said, that she's
not yet a senator.
She's by the grace of God. By the grace of God.
No.
By the grace of God. By the grace of God. I just believe that we're going to be there. I just believe we're going to be there because the consistency is what actually matters, you know, because so I feel that definitely if these women who have the grassroots, because some 2-3 men sit behind to make them this thing. I think if in making the decision, they also consider women, there will be no harm. In the marking scheme, women are considered. So it's not a matter of imposition.
I add something.
Okay.
I believe that most parties pick candidates so they win election. And in truth, if we're honest with each other, even for the men, there's some sort of backroom affirmative action. Meaning, okay, he can win the general elections. And therefore, there may be some challenges in him getting the ticket. But they do manage to find a way to give the person they feel will actually deliver the seat the ticket. In my opinion, there are not many women may seem to be running, but when you look at the strong women that the party can sit down and say, okay, affirmative action for this particular electoral year. Let's look at the women running for different offices. Let's consider that's at the national level. At the local level, there are so few of them that I really feel, as I said, 6 out of 62 is a no-brainer in terms of finding a way to say here, and we would not have cheated the men. There may be 1 or 2, if, for instance, there's a man and a woman running in that particular place. The affirmative action should be or could be that if her qualifications and her ability to win the elections are as good as his, then she should be given the chance. I believe that one year PDP had a rule where before it became simple majority, that if you have an election and a man and a woman have to go for runoff, meaning they both scored the highest and everybody else is then going to go back and rerun the election with just 2 people, you don't bother, you give the ticket to the woman. Now, that, I think, is some sort of an affirmative action. Okay, they can't do that now because it's a simple majority. Whoever wins by 1 vote has won. And if they do that, and I'm not saying they should now cancel the primaries or anything, but sort of give the little push that's necessary from the back, the way they do the men, for certain positions for women. How many women are really running for governor out of the 36? Perhaps 2 or 3 in the whole country.
Oh, well, here's a follow-up to Kingsley's question. You know, I watched the event live, the rally, where the president came, and of course, it was obvious that he's supporting women, and you were all excited. That is the first leg of your journey. How do you intend beyond the federal level to follow up at the sub-national level, especially with governors and politicians at that level? President Buhari will not come to that level to do it for you. You need to walk the talk at that level.
Okay. Thank you very much. Like the case of Benue, I have a sitting governor, but I believe he doesn't have the capacity to run the state, or else we'll not have the issue of salaries, we'll not have the issue of all those indiscriminate killings over there. So I believe I ran with him in 2015, and I so believe that if I had been given the opportunity, I would have done better, and that's why I'm running against him. So I'm not actually going to dialogue with him because I'm like, hey, gentlemen, you've done 4 years, it wasn't good enough, I want to help you.
So what do you intend to do differently?
I have, excuse me?
What do you intend to do?
Hello, the capacity, what we talk about capacity, in Benue State, it's not the Fulani herdsmen that is a problem. It's not the federal government that is a problem. The problem is the person there. And what I intend to do differently, all that we need to do is to disarm the bandits. The people, we have been friends with the Fulani over the centuries. We've never, some of our women are married to Fulani men. Some of their men are married to our women. We don't have problem with that. But the armed bandit, a criminal is a criminal anywhere. You know, so if we are able to separate the armed bandit from the herdsmen, negotiation continues because that is how it has been over the centuries. And so that is what I want to do differently in terms of security. As an engineer, in terms of industrialization of Benue,
just so that, you know, yeah, that's right. Engineer Chenke, thank you very much. I'm also an engineer. Oh, all right, thanks a lot. Thank you. Yeah, that's why the statement made by the gentleman in the Vox Pop, you know, that's we responded to that. I think that's also appreciated. Unfortunately, we do not have the other contestants in Benue to respond to what you have said. So we'll just limit it to general issues with regard to women and participation. I understand. Let's bring in again the IPAC chairman, Honorable Mohammed Nalado. Again, the mechanics of the party system, that's precisely what we're talking about. This is September already. Before you know it, we'll hit October, end of October, and a couple of weeks later on, you know, the names have been submitted to INEC. And when you count and see look out for the number of women, if you are not a candidate, you can't contest an election. So, again, the question, how do women or others who support their cause get to knock at the doors of the party apparatchiks and say, this is the time to do this now?
You see, we have been advocating, apart from playing party politics, for women participation in the electoral processes. The problem we have today is the women refusing to come and participate actively in the politics. That is the problem we have. And you know, if you don't have the number, you may not have, you have the strength to influence decisions. So we're encouraging women to go house to house. Politics is local. Let women go and mobilize women at home, because we have majority of the voters as women. So let them go house to house, mobilize women, educate them, sensitize them, show them the importance of having women in the political activities so that they can have women that, number of women that will come out and contest. Political parties have created space for women by motivating them, by giving them incentives. At least free forms for women by a majority of the political parties today is an incentive, and I believe it's very, very encouraging. And by political parties coming together, 91 of us, to sign and agree that 3 women should occupy position of 9 ESCO members of IPAC at all levels, I think is very, very encouraging. So political parties are ready to come out and support women, only that women should be more proactive. They have to come.
I'm sorry, I think the women would like to respond. They respond to that. Let's, sorry, just before we come to you, yes. Let's be here.
Well, I believe that what the women are doing now is we're not ready to begin to go house to knock doors, because women are already out. A lot of women are out now. What NCWS is going to do together with the Office of the First Lady is to go for advocacy to the governors. Because, you see, most of the time we think we have party chairmen, like he rightly said, but the governors are holding these positions. We're going to say that, please, just give us the quota for the women. And say, okay, in this state, we are going to give 3, 1 woman in 1 senatorial district, senator, 3 women, House of Assembly, 10 women, State Assembly.
It should be the other way around.
Eh?
You say House of Assembly is for the state, House of Reps.
House of Rep, 3 women, State Assembly, and then councillors and chairman. These are the numbers that we want to give. Let me give you an example of Delta State. The governor said there should be 3 women in all the local government. There must be 3 women. It could be more, but he's giving a quota to women, 3 per local government. And they had, in the local government, 3 women per local government, except in local governments where women do not show up. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Haja Ireti. Let's hear her reaction to what the chairman of IPAC said, because I noticed that you were all turning your heads.
Yes, because to say women do not participate is not true. They always come out, but at the end of the day, after the primaries, you find that there's, yes, first of all, maybe a lot of the backroom negotiations that are going on, the men are richer, they've been in positions. Even I have complained a lot to my party in the last few years that this 2015, we have not been treated fairly. And at the time, the chairman explained to us that, well, he agrees, he's sorry, but that the party was more concerned with just winning the elections and they were not looking at the subject of women. But now that we have won the elections and we've been in governance for over we're going into our 4th year, the subject of women should be addressed. We are 50% of the population, and I really feel that it would make a lot of difference, a big boost to our development if there were more women participation. We know what good managers women are. As I tell them when I campaign, I said the day that they went to the market and there's nothing in the house to cook, your mother still finds a way to cook something and give you. She doesn't let you starve. So the party needs, I don't know, maybe the Nigerian Society of Women's Societies should sit with the parties and let them be specific about the modalities of how, because all these, we are supportive of women, we are supportive of women. We hear it every 4 years, especially people like me that have been doing this for a long time. They gather us, we go to the women's centers all the time. Fine, the people who come are different, but we still go through the same thing. And most of it has just been talk. Yes, the president is supportive of women, but he didn't tell us in specific detail what he is going to do, what that support translates into. Now, is what the support that everybody is saying they're giving to women, we, the women, want to know what does it translate into.
And in specific terms, of course, we'll come back to details of those specifics. The president is not here; he's in China, by the way. And the president is the president of the Federal Republic.
It's more the party that should do it, not the president.
He represents the political party, just 1 out of 91.
Exactly.
And of course, when politicians canvass a level playing field, they say from the biggest or the smallest parties, each should have an equal chance. We'll continue with this conversation after this short break.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Oh boy, climb this thing now. Not be only to connect lights.
Come do on yourself now.
Now wow. Oh boy, come down now. Oga Kasali electrician, who would they look for with this?
Oh.
Oga Kasali, come help us fix this wire now.
Sorry, I no longer carry out illegal connection. It puts the lives of people at risk and can cause fire outbreak and disrupt power supply. I will never be part of anything that has to do with this any longer because change begins with me.
Oh boy, letting him talk makes sense. Oh boy, we could carry this ladder from off of me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, thanks for staying with us. We're still in the studio with our guest, and we're focusing on women and the 2019 elections. I want to start this segment with the IPAC chair. The women responded to your last comment concerning women not coming out. You don't have enough women coming forward, and they're saying, no, women are. The thing is, you need to go to the specifics. What do you have to offer them? How will this translate into affirmative action?
You see, political parties have taken a step. The bold step we have taken is bringing all political parties together to agree to have 3 out of 9 ESCO members of IPAC as women. So by that, we are showing that we are ready, to allow or to encourage women to participate evenly. Now, the reason why I say women are not coming out to participate is it is only when you have majority or a number of women in the working committee that will be able to influence decision. When it comes to electing members of the working committee, it is the party members that elect. So if the women do not come out and participate to become party members and elect women to represent them in the working committee levels, I don't think women will be able to influence more. So I am encouraging women to come and participate in the political activities fully, not to go and contest for elections only, no. Participate at all levels. When it comes to electing ESCO members of political parties, they should participate and make sure that they have representation of women in the working committee.
The chairman of IPAC, again, at the beginning of this conversation, I did say that women and their participation in politics is one issue that we have had guests discuss extensively on Good Morning Nigeria from different perspectives, including on the eve of congresses and conventions. That is to say, how do you get women into positions of the executive committees of the political parties at various levels? Now, our concern has to do with the general elections. We have 91 political parties. And as we indicated, of course, you know this as well, that right now, the parties are on the verge of picking their candidates. The question, can you be all in the 91?
Political parties participate actively in the 2019 general election because of our decision-making
leader. National Council time for the host, they will bring what are those as leader, what this time that or the parties.
Thank you. If I want to take 3 out of 9 executive, does it mean that 2019, that is the case, then it's beautiful because that is it. But then stopping at your own executive alone doesn't transmit to the 2019. And so the women leaders, we're expecting the women leaders. The reason for creating the women leader is to have a voice for the women leader of APC, women leader of PDP to say, in every, IPAC have agreed that in every 9, there should be 3. And so this 9 must give us 3. In this 9, let us have 3. And so I expect the women leaders to be able to come out clearly to the political parties. Let's not hide from the truth. Well, actually, when you want to, my people say that when you want to treat a wound, you clean it very well. You know, we talk about harmonized list, we talk about unity list, and all the rest when it comes to election, even production of party executive. You know, so when the harmonized list is being formed, how do women fare? And how do the men who are forming the harmonized list or the unity list consider the women? And so that is all that is what happens.
In primaries, you don't have unity list, because
I
that's
know,
you
I
go to
just
court. You will go to court from
party
yes, elections. Yes,
because it's
that's
talking
right.
about women
I get your point.
participating
Yes.
in the executive of political parties.
Yes.
You know.
All right, National Council. Yes.
Well,
woman leader, you know, at national, state, local government level.
The women leaders are supposed to, even though I don't, I believe that they don't have much power, because a lot of times when they go for programs, women leaders just decorate the table. That's all.
Yes, and a lot of people talk about them being involved in fun fair. And
yes, that's what they do most of the time. I particularly have called upon some women leaders. Let's talk. Let's see what we can do for women. I'm not a politician. I need the women leaders to come and discuss with me what we can do. Let them tell me how to go about talking to people. I only know that the governor is very powerful when it comes to picking candidates. Some women have come to me to say, governors call them that, look, it's not your time to do anything. Leave it for the man to go back in this 2019. In some states. I have those states written, and I'm going to try and talk to the president's wife and say, well, I have these cases here and there. Because when we talk about the chairman talking to chairman, most of the time the chairman, they don't even have the power, especially in the smaller parties. We've been talking about PDP and APC here. What about the other 90 or 89 parties? Women should find their way there. Let them go and contest under those parties. If you think if you are popular, go to other parties. Don't concentrate on PDP, APC, PDP, APC. They are saturated with big names. And those are the parties that the governors will say, look, you cannot come, you are a woman, just go and wait for your time. 2023 is coming. That's what they keep telling the women. When it is time, you go there. There's a particular woman who wants to become a senator. Of course, the governor is preparing himself to leave and become a senator. Because when the governors finish their tenure, they now become senators. That's the next thing. It's like as if it is kept, the Senate is kept for the governors to move into as soon as they finish their tenure. So the woman is told that, well, you want to be a senator, please look for something else to do. You are not going to become a senator. Maybe 2023. Maybe the woman is already 60 years old and you are telling her to wait until 2023. So it's the governors.
64, 65, not too old.
Not too old, okay. Okay. I believe that we should talk to both the chairman of the party and the governors of the state. Honestly, they are very powerful people, and most of the time, even the chairman cannot control the governors when it comes to candidacy.
In terms of advocacy, Haja Retikingibe, what should a woman leader be doing?
Actually, she should be sitting and negotiating and advocating for positions for women. When in the past, some of the women that I have gotten councillorship seats for, if you're a strong woman in the party, okay, at the level of the National Assembly or gubernatorial, that's a different matter. But so the state party chairman needs your support, needs to work with you on many issues. That's when people like me can sit and say, Chairman, these 3, I'm only asking you. If you don't give me those 3 women, then count me out of everything you do. I won't. He will now, okay, madam, will they win? I said, yes, they will win. Just let's work towards them getting the ticket. And as I said, I'm a politician. These things can be done. There are ways of supporting. Yes, we are going to primaries, but there are ways you weigh things in the favor of a particular person, especially in those little elections. And that is where it should start. If you can get more women councillors, they will grow to be chairmen and on and on and on. But if we don't start anywhere, then you understand. The other thing is that the party itself needs to be held. I'm trying to do something which obviously will not be ready to be useful until 2023. And I'm sure I'm not the only person trying to do it. They may be trying to do it in other parties as well. And when we put it all together, we're trying to put a register of, we call it Nigerian League of Women Voters. And because I keep telling women, they're not going to give you anything unless you pressure them into giving it to you. By the time we put that register together, then we will sit down and say, okay, what are you offering us? We will take our votes on block somewhere else. That is the way to go. So all these things, the truth is that the men are not going to do anything unless you pressure them. Madame was talking about the smaller parties. The reason why people don't go to the smaller parties, a lot of them exist just on paper. They don't have the structures within the states so without the structures, you're running alone. You need people on election day in every polling unit. So if your party is a paper party, they give you a ticket. So how does that help you on election day? It doesn't. You can't compete favorably with the ones that have structures.
All right, thank you very much, Haji Ireti. Let's go over now to our viewers who have sent in their tweets. They're taking advantage of our Twitter handle. You can see that at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen at NTA GML. That's one here that is an encourager from Mohammed Usman. That's it's directed to my co-presenter, Joy Osiago. It says, Joy, you are good enough to be in the red chamber. Better give it a try. Joy?
Mohammed should get me a form. All right, let's take the next one from Sani Michael Omakuju. He tweets, for women to participate in Nigerian politics, we should de-emphasize crude doctrine and religion that prevents women from participating in politics. Money bags, political hooliganism, and gender stereotyping, which have become the order of our politics, should also be de-emphasized.
Victor Ohioswama tweets, the indices that will help the upward swing of women in Nigerian politics include supporting themselves, increased empowerment, education, and more participation. I'm against any special favors for women, especially for elective offices. It will amount to gender discrimination.
And the next one is from Ogbeni Omokbolahun. He tweets, without sounding forlorn and pessimistic, I don't think the time is ripe for Nigerian women to take lead roles in even governorship election, not to talk of the presidency. Our politics is that which is run with exclusivity. It will take serious reorientation to change the narrative.
Ibeneme Dominic tweets, women seem to be ready, but the exorbitant fees of most parties already have shut the doors against many of them. Parties have not made it clear that a particular number of women should be allowed to have a particular number of seats.
All right, let's go to Sani Michael Omakoju. He tweets that Nigerian women are not educated enough to lead or be Nigerian president is laughable and ridiculous. If that is even the case, have we not had presidents in this country without university degrees? Why not extend the same opportunity to our women? Nigerian women must speak out.
This is from Stephen. I have a question for women. In the 2011 presidential elections, when a woman candidate contested election, how many women voted for her during the primaries? Women are causing their own problems politically.
All right, this one is from Cynthia. Women and 2019 election. Women should be allowed to participate and win elections.
Again, Sunday Michael Amagoji. Now, if politics is a game of numbers, as we always preach, then Nigerian women can change the narrative. Because according to the 2006 census, women got substantial percentage of Nigeria's population to change the political status quo in Nigeria as they are more in number. So maybe when we have a Nigerian League of Women Voters, it will be clearer, what percentage of women exist and what pressure they can exert on the political space.
One more from Ogbeni Omobolahu. Another serious factor is that many women don't believe in women leadership. In 2011, Mrs. Sarah Jibril contested under the platform of the PDP for the primaries with former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. She didn't get more than one vote, probably her own. In 2015, how many women voted for Dr. Remi Shonaye of Kowa Party?
All right, Festus Akimboyewa has this tweet, probably the one of the last I will take now, that not many women are coming out to show interest in running for political office. Shows we still have a long way to go before we can achieve the equality that will produce a female president. Well, the talk is not just about female president, but for all positions from council to council chairman, councillor to council chairman, to legislature at the state level, governor, and then, of course, legislature at the national level. Time for a campaign that will motivate women to come out and run for political office is now. That's according to Festus Akimboyewa. All right, let's take the last one from, this is LLM Tony, or rather, this is from Sunday Michael Amakoji again. Let's take this. It says, in the last administration, women almost got 35% affirmation, but at the moment it has dropped to 13%. That's his calculation. Now, this is not progressive in their agitation. Such as Aisha Buhari is now championing the campaign. They should put their house in order, that's women, and develop synergy to change the narrative. All right, so those are the tweets that we'll take in the meantime. Once we get some more, we'll take them. But let me throw this in for consideration. Our conversation is on women and the 2019 elections. And when you use the age of majority, a woman should be any person who is an adult and therefore who can exercise the franchise, 18 years and above. One of the most significant pieces of legislation that we have seen passed in recent times has been the Not Too Young to Run bill. In other words, the campaign was mounted. Again, the NTA, and in particular Good Morning Nigeria, played a role in that. Not too young to run. When we're therefore talking about women, and then you have seen the youth, the young persons, the young women now, who now have the opportunity to participate on account of the lowering of the age requirements. How might this critical mass be galvanized, the younger population now, to lend a voice and therefore more pressure to the issues that we're talking about of having more women participate in the 2019 elections? Anybody taking a first shot? Open question.
Dr. Chenge, let's hear you.
Okay. That is just an excellent achievement for the Nigerian people generally. You know, women and youth go together. And thank God a lot of women are also at that age of not too young to run. It has brought a lot of sensitization to the political sphere. And I feel that with these young people there, a lot of women are going to benefit from this very law that have been passed. And so collectively, even at home, you see a lot of the women and the children coming together. The father is always this thing. So I think that law particularly is going to boost the 2019 general election, because we have a lot of young people contesting for different positions right now. So I feel they are not going to be available to be used as thugs as they used to be available for, because that's the problem we had. Because when one of their friends is contesting, they're going to organize themselves and become a little bit more reasonable and more sensible. And so thuggery, once thuggery is pulled out of the whatever for women, and as even the politics generally, we tend to bring more credible people to the field. We tend to produce more credible leaders. So I think that bill he's going to do a lot of good.
Sorry, before you answer, let's go to specifics. In your own train, how many young people do you have?
A lot of them. I want to, you know, you like talking about me particular, and I'm happy to let you know. In the 2015 election, we were 21 contestants. 21 contestants on the day of the election, 10 solid men, as you have it, stepped down. I didn't step down. And out of the remaining...
You're solid on your own.
Oh, thank you. And out of the remaining that stayed behind, the governor's candidate had the first shot, and then the sitting deputy governor, and then the sitting Samuel Otom, and the former minister, and then myself. So in the whole 21 candidate aspirants, I came 5th, which is wonderful, you know. So that tells you how many people are behind me in the whole Benue state. So take away the government influence. You know, I take it I came second runner-up because take away the government influence, the governor and the deputy governor is not there. Then you have the Samuel Otom and the Samode and myself, who came from the people's vote. That is the people's vote. That's a true representation of Benue. So for me, in terms of youth mobilization, I am one. My son was former Nobel's president, and so I've been with the children all along and the youth over the years.
All right, let's go to Hajira Tikigebe.
Well, I feel that it's fine. The bill has been passed, and in the future, it will evolve to involve more young people. But as things stand now, the youth are even more disadvantaged than the women.
Oh.
Where's the money? All the things that women put women at a disadvantage, young people have the same thing. So they can come and I talk to them and tell them that you can influence the kind of leaders you have. And slowly, slowly you will evolve. But tell me now that somebody who is very young decides to run. With what resources, with what connections, with what all the same things that put women at a disadvantage. I'm sorry, the young people have the same thing. Eventually, the bill is good because it will evolve. But for 2019 that we're talking about, I doubt very much that you'll see some very young people.
Well, let me rephrase my question. I'm saying the Not Too Young to Run Act is now a piece of legislation. Yes. We have it. Yes. Now, out of that not Too Young to Run, you have men and women. And I'm saying for the category of the younger persons who are women, to say any person from age 18, for instance, how do you co-opt them? Because Not Too Young to Run is not a political party. So it's not a political party. They are dispersed all around. Some of them, a number of them, of course, you can say they are independents, and even though we don't have independent candidacy. How then do you galvanize those young women, 18 and above, who are beneficiaries now of the Not Too Young to Run, to be part of the pressure group or the pressure points on 91 existing political parties to say, give women these slots, that which also harks into what you're talking about of getting, if you like, a preliminary list of a League of Women Voters. If these are potential voters, what voices, how can you raise the decibel of their voices to be part of the pressure on the 91 political parties to give women more affirmative action and more spaces to seek election? That's NCW as president.
Yes, already the NCWS has all the women, the university undergraduates. They have an umbrella body, you know, and they have a president, national president of female undergraduates. They are athletes of NCWS. So we intend to begin to talk with them. The League of Women Voters she's talking about is something that NCWS has done so many years ago. It's our founding mothers set up that League of Women Voters. And even the League of Women Voters in US has written to us that they want to affiliate with us. So I'm surprised when Madam Iretis talked about it. Now we have our own coalition of women voters, which we are also setting up, you know, to make sure that we do some advocacy to those women. We have a platform where all of them are on, and we talk about, when you send your poster, for instance, we send to them, and then we have been talking to them. The next thing we want to do is to come together and have a big program of voters, women voters, especially the young ones from the universities, the ones that have the jobless, the girls that are around. There are some girls that call themselves girls aren't cheap. We've brought them together. They are in NCWS as our athletes. There are many girls. They say girls aren't cheap. So all those ones are potential voters, and they are also potential politicians. We believe that in the local government, most of them will go for councillorship. A lot of girls want to become councillors. A lot of girls, we are encouraging them to start from the scratch, from the grassroots. We believe that if you have the grassroots, you already have started having powers. Because you said Sarah Jibril, nobody voted for her. She was never a candidate. Sarah Jibril was never a candidate. She never got past the delegate election. If she was a candidate, then we can begin to count whether women really voted for her or not. But it is still the same thing that women are not in the political parties, and they are not in positions where they can become delegates. That's why they don't, vote for other women. If we have women as delegates, when you have delegate elections now, you will see that most of them are men. Because, of course, they also struggle to become delegates. Am I right?
No, but the law, well, or whether it's the law or whether it's just party, the norm, there are always a certain number of women. For most party things, if they're going to pick...
There are some people they call automatic delegates.
Yes, but the main delegates are usually executives of the party.
Yes, but they are all men. That's what I'm
they're
saying.
not all men, madam. There are at least, there's always a woman leader, an assistant woman leader.
Saying.
There are also a few other women. So for each particular ward, like Abuja now, I would say that all the delegates that would go and elect me are about 1,700 and something. Out of that, slightly under 300, maybe 250 of them are women.
So those women are supposed to elect you, vote for you. If everything is
everything is equal, their votes should be automatically mine.
But if we had out of the 200, we have about 100 women, it would be easier for you to be voted for. Don't you think so? Women will vote for you. But in those days when Sarah Jibril was...
But there were female delegates in that election.
But there were very few.
These are issues
there were very few.
Need to be looked into.
Yes.
Well, the primaries provide the opportunity for the election of the candidates for you to now stand in an election.
Yes.
And of course, this is talking about the indirect primary system where you have the delegates list. And those delegates lists are usually the bone of contention.
Yes,
that is the one that the governors, we have seen, some governors, hold on to. And later we're talking about unity, something list, the usual shenanigans that you'll find around. But let's bring in Honorable.
Divide them.
We can't ascertain that. But Chairman of IPAC, tell us something. How can young persons now advantaged significantly by the Not Too Young to Run Act come together, women, who are now qualified, be a much louder and therefore significant voice in campaigning for more women to stand election as candidates?
Yes. You see, IPAC is doing so much to have the participation of advantaged people, like people living with disabilities, youth, and the women. And we have been organizing seminars and workshops to educate and sensitize, the political party leaders, the reason why they should allow people of that disadvantaged group to be participating fully. And it is only by educating the political party leaders that you can encourage the participation of this group of people. Recently, like a week ago, we had a workshop where we trained youth leaders, women leaders, and national secretaries of political parties on how to open spaces, more spaces for women, youth, and PWDs to participate. And it is very, very encouraging. And looking at the trend, as the election is fast approaching, we have also engaged some stakeholders to also run another workshop for political party leaders, which is coming very soon before the primary election begins, where all the 91 political party leaders were going to stay in one place for a workshop on the involvement of women in the 2019 general election and how to, encourage women to participate. Political parties are doing very well, and
all right. I want to thank you very much, Chairman, Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, Honorable Mohammed Nalado. Thank you very much for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria for this exciting conversation. We'll also use this opportunity to thank the FCT senatorial aspirant and the FCT APC leader, Hajia Ireti Kingibe. Thank you very much for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria.
The pleasure was
today.
all mine.
We'd also like to thank the president of the National Council for Women's Societies, NCWS, Dr. Gloria Shoda. Thank you very much for joining us on Good Morning Nigeria.
pleasure.
And I'd also like to thank my friend, Dr. Rosalind Adachengi, former MD, Lower Benue River Basin Development Authority. Thank you very much for contributing.
Thank you so much.
So,
Ensure you vote for a woman.
All right. Sports, it's next. Let's join our correspondents for what is happening on